All right. We have a new video here from the dude Humphrey Lang. I believe I got it right. Humphrey Lang. You're not behind why everyone seems to have more money than you. So he's gonna explain to us, I guess, why everyone seems to have more money than us, yet we're not behind. Let's see what my guy has to say.
So have you ever looked around and felt like everyone else is just ahead of you in life? And
Have you ever looked around and felt like everyone was just ahead of you in life, low key? Not really, but low key. And when I look around online, I look around outside, we all right. But if I look around online, yeah, low key.
like no matter what you're doing, it seems like everyone has more money, more success, and just more of everything. If so, you are not alone. This is a pretty common feeling. And in today's video, I want to break down 7 reasons why you might feel behind financially. And we'll actually uncover if there's any truth to these at all. Number 1.
Let's break it down, boys. Number 1, let's see.
You judge a book by its cover, so appearances on the surface usually aren't an accurate depiction of somebody's wealth, and let me give you an example with cars. There's always a big misconception that what you drive is reflective of how much your net worth is.
People pay over $1,000 a month. People pay over $1,000 a month to ride in a whip, bro. People pay over a rack a month to ride in a whip. If they're making normal income, if they got a normal salary, you already know what's up, dog. Yeah.
Is or how much money you might be making. Pretend you have $600 a month to spend on transportation. Well, you are a reasonable and modest person, let's say. You go out and finance a used 2021 Toyota Corolla hatchback that has a price of $25,000.
The hatchback, my guy, you are nuts.
Your car payment is about $424 a month, and after everything is included in terms of gas, insurance, etc., you're probably close to a $600 a month car payment for that used car. Your goal is to pay it off in 5 years, and then you just own the car outright, and therefore you don't have to make any more payments. But then you have a friend, let's just call him Eric, and you're both at the work water cooler one day comparing finances, as many good coworkers do, and you find out that he makes the same exact yearly salary that you do. Eric shares with you that, man, his car payment is killing him, and he confides in you that it's actually $459 a month for his car. You look at him strangely because, well, something doesn't really add up. You're paying close to what he pays and you're driving a Corolla, but Eric over there is whipping around in a 2025 BMW i4. Not to mention, this really confuses you because you guys make the same amount of money. So
I wonder if he's going to tell us where he got these numbers from. Where are you getting an i4 for $459 a month? Is this just an example? This is just an example. I don't know. Mr. Lang, tell me.
You figure he must be lying. A 2025 BMW i4 retails for at least $53,000 when you Google it, and there's no way he has a car payment that's remotely close to yours. Now that's where you would be wrong because Eric is indeed telling you the truth. What he's not telling you though is that he's leasing the car and he got a lease special. His lease only
What? That's a good price for a lease. I'm not gonna lie. A lease special.
lasts 3 years, so he has to give up the car after that. And not only that, he had to put up $53.89 due at signing that he didn't tell you about when he was complaining about his car payment. His insurance and gas are both higher as well, and that's not something he shares with you either. Now, on the surface, both of you guys are spending roughly the same amount of money on a monthly payment, but if we dig beneath the surface a little bit, we can clearly see that Eric might be living beyond his means, all for appearances. Judging a book by its cover is one of the ways that you can torture your mind because it easily can become a thing where you start to feel inadequate or insecure about your own finances. What you really want to focus on is just focusing on what you can do and what you can control and trying to put blinders everywhere else. Number 2, spending habits are invisible. So let's pretend you are someone who loves to invest money, spend on experiences like going to the Taylor Swift concert.
Boy, if you...
Or perhaps you like to ride a camel in the desert. But then you might have a friend, let's call her Chloe, and she likes to spend money on the car, the bag, jewelry to the nines, and she gets her hair done every single month. However, Chloe doesn't invest any of her money, and when it comes to experiences, she'd much rather just Netflix and chill. So who's actually living a richer and fuller life? I would like to argue that you are, but maybe Chloe thinks that she is. While you might not have the possessions Chloe has, you have an investment account that is growing, your financial peace of mind is improving daily, and you have lived a lot of different life experiences. The truth is that spending habits can be visible depending on what your preferences are for spending money. If you like to spend on material things, perhaps you like Back to the Future posters like me, it's going to be noticeable. Now, if you like
I'm not gonna lie, bro, that Back to the Future poster is a little cold, man. I like that.
building your wealth in the shadows, well, it's just not going to be as visible. So you really can't compare yourself to someone who might be of the former. And that actually brings me to my next point. Number 3, people that have money won't actually show it off on social media.
Okay, this is very true. If you actually have bread and you're not selling something to your social media audience, you're usually not showing this off on social media. It's not the best look for you. But let's be real, guys. Like, when it comes down to our lifestyles and what we want out of lives, it really is personalized up to us. Do you want to spend money on experiences? Do you want to spend money on daily habits and the ability to go buy little small things on a daily basis, right? Or do you want the ability to lease that BMW i4? Or, it's all really up to you. And once you have a better understanding of who you are and who you want to be and the life that you want to live, and you're not caring as much about how other people think of you, especially on social media, then you're able to use your money a little bit more wisely and for the things that actually add value to your life, and not things that are just so temporary, so fleeting that it doesn't matter that you bought it 24 hours after you purchased it, So you don't want that, because you're not heading in. You know what? We're just gonna keep it moving.
Yeah. One problem I noticed that we as humans have is that we fall prey to easily looking to social media for role models or inspiration on how we should act, what to wear, or what to buy. But in my
Like I said in the beginning, man, if I look around on social media, sure, I could feel behind. If I or I could be inspired to push forward and see all the things that are achievable out there. I mean, it really depends on your mindset, but I see how it can kind of gnaw at you and be like, man, why am I not there yet? Or I want this or I want that, and it costs nothing to want, and it costs a lot to go out and achieve. So sometimes even seeing the things that you want may soak up the energy that's required for you to go out and take action. So yeah, social media is a little tricky here. Let's see what he thinks.
my opinion, true wealth is pretty silent and actually not actually visible at all. So there was one time I went to go and meet my friend's dad for a lunch, and he's worth over 9 figures. And guess what he wore? He wore shorts and a simple polo shirt. Honestly, from the outside, he probably looked like your average Joe dad. He wasn't driving a fancy car. He wasn't wearing a flashy watch, and nobody would certainly know that he was rich. And oftentimes the most wealthiest people that I meet in my own life generally are just the most down to earth and humble type of people. And they honestly don't try to be too flashy. Another
I'm not gonna lie. When I deal with the richest clients I ever dealt with, some of the richest people I ever dealt with, this is exactly the truth. Unfortunately, it makes people with new money or people that don't have money that try to be flashy, it kind of makes it very obvious what's going on. And when you didn't grow up like that, and you're not surrounded by a whole bunch of wealthy people, you don't know any better, truly and honestly. And you're trying to flex on those around you. And so you do with what you know, and you usually buy something where other people can easily perceive the value of what you bought. So you can try to say, I have money. But you can clearly see that anybody that actually has money doesn't need to shout that from the rooftop, doesn't need to express that with their clothing, doesn't need to, you know, impress you with what they drive. They have a different purpose for the tools and the resources that they're acquiring. And a lot of times people look at money as just a reward. So let me go spend it on some toys and some fun, and not as a tool and a resource to put my family in a situation where they don't have to struggle. And they don't have to be told what to do by the whims of the world. So money has different purposes depending on how you use it. And really, it comes down to your mindset. Let's see what he says.
the most down to earth and humble type of people, and they honestly don't try to be too flashy. Another story I want to tell you guys is that I grew up with a lot of really wealthy kids. Now, my family, we were well off, yes, but we weren't super wealthy. And one of the wealthier girls that I knew would always be traveling, and she would share photos of her family trips on social media. But what I noticed about it was that she would make it look very normal, like she would only showcase normal places that everyone had access to. For example, she went to Rome, she might take a picture of the Colosseum or the Trevi Fountain, but she never was really showing you where she was staying or how she even got there. But at some point in my life,
Private jet, Waldorf Astoria, yeah. Private clubs, yeah. Yeah, access. That's something that people do not really value before you start making money. Access is, and the ability to have private VIP experiences when you travel and go to places and meet people is so underrated by people that maybe have yet to experience it. It's not really something that people strive for. With some of the access, some of the limited private access I've had in my life, I realized the importance of it. Also, the network, as you can see, he said he grew up. He was certainly well off, but he wasn't wealthy. But he grew up around wealthy people, which is telling me that he wasn't super far from that. And the social economical situation wasn't too different. However, he got to see a little bit more of how wealthy people move than if you grew up in poverty, or if you grew up in like the lower middle class. So, it's how people use their wealth, and a lot of times experiences, access, private memberships is how a lot of people do it. And trust me, it's worth more than you think.
If I got pretty nosy, so I asked some of her friends who are also my friends, like, how come she never just like showcases where she stays, or perhaps how she gets to the destinations that she gets to? Well, it turns out she was flying private everywhere, staying at really nice villas and 5-star resorts. And what I actually realized at that point was that wealthy people, they want to keep their wealth a secret, because that way it's more anonymous, it's more private. And that also just means they're going to be more secure. And a huge pitfall of society is that we see people with flashy cars or flashy bags on social media and just assume that those are the people that have money. But studies suggest that a significant portion of luxury goods are actually purchased using credit cards.
Yes, poor people buy luxury goods. Poor people buy luxury goods. Rich people do too, kind of. Wealthy people usually don't. They buy things that you wouldn't recognize, brands that you wouldn't recognize, but it's still a $6,000 shirt. But you just don't know that because you're not tapped into the brands. But yes, if you're too audacious with your wealth, you're asking to get robbed. You're getting, no, not robbed, well, maybe, but you're bringing attention to yourself that may not be necessary for the life you're trying to live. Let's be real. Let's be real.
This is true particularly among younger demographics, and according to a Bain and Company report, luxury sales are actually being driven by younger generations like Gen Z and millennials. So just like earlier, you don't see what other people's financial situations look like. It's rather opaque, so I just don't want you to believe everything that you see on social media. Number 4, a big problem today is that we are always trying to compare ourselves upwards in society. So what I've noticed is that people don't like to compare themselves to someone less fortunate than they are. It's not aspirational to compare yourself to someone that doesn't have that much. Comparison.
Boy, we do that with money. So with money, we compare ourselves upwards, but I promise you with looks and probably weight, we compare ourselves downward, yo. I'm not gonna lie.
Is truly the thief of joy, but if you ever compared yourself to those that have less than you, or even yet those that don't even have a reliable source of food, water, or shelter every day, that will give you the perspective that the life you live is probably 10 times more comfortable and could be way worse if you were just born in a different country or perhaps a different set of circumstances. Part of that is just the hand that you're dealt. You can't choose where and who you are born to. You can only make the best of the situation that you have. Now, one of the ways that in our society we like to compare ourselves upwards is often with job title and career path comparisons. This type of comparison can be misleading because job titles don't always reflect true value, skills, or progress. For example, being a VP at one company can have the same responsibilities of a senior manager at another. Titles vary so much by company, industry, or even what area of the country you live in, so I don't think they are reliable at all. Now, if you work at a startup, you should know that title inflation is a real thing. Startups need to keep their employees around, and sometimes giving someone an arbitrary title to make them feel better is basically a tactic that founders and CEOs will use to make people kind of stick around. Instead of comparing yourself to your friends who have different titles, try to think about your skills. Are you developing your skills still? Are you happy at work? Are you satisfied with the work that you are doing and the value you are creating? These are going to be much more reliable markers of true career progress. Lastly, I think instead of focusing on other people's titles, you should think about whether you are growing as a person. Are you gaining more skills? Are you moving closer to your own goals? Or are you feeling stagnant? If that is you and you feel stagnant, then you might have to do something about it. That is going to be be a much better use of your time and also more fulfilling than just comparing yourself to someone who has a much higher title. Number 5, expecting too much too soon. So another reason why it may feel like everyone seems to have more money than you is that we see stories highlighted all the time online of people turning small amounts of money into large amounts of money. For example, on Reddit's Wall Street Bets, if you read this subreddit for fun, you will inevitably see some gains that make you question if you should still continue working at your job.
Guys, don't fall for this. Don't fall for this, guys. Keep working, live and maintain, pay yourself first, use that surplus, use that abundance to go ahead and invest, and you'll be okay.
Job. It can be really discouraging when someone makes $100,000 in one trade in just a few days when you work the entire year and you don't even make that. Or perhaps when a trader turns $80,000 to $1.12 million in just a week. The thing is though, is that you are literally only seeing the wins on this subreddit and rarely are people posting losses. Now, if they are posting losses, they are so bad that if that happened to me, I think I would be at least in a state of shock for at least a year. Like for example, this lurker who lost their entire life savings, and if you read the post, it is
down 87%. Boy, you went from $279,615.08, and my man dropped all the way down to $24,340.47. I hope gang was not in a relationship, because his finances and that thing is over. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You'll bounce back, player. Anybody that lose like this, man, they got some heart. They'll probably bounce back.
It is actually quite sad. He says, quote, "I would do anything to go back to where I was before the big sell-off on Friday. And yes, it was spy calls that killed me." Now,
okay, never mind. I don't know if he gonna make it back. He might be cooked. Ladies and gentlemen, investing your way to success may not be the way to achieve success. However, parking your abundance of dollars and giving them an assigned job to go out and make friends and come back with more dollars is a much more responsible use of your money, instead of throwing your life savings into an investment that could go basically to zero.
if that were me, I would probably need 5 to 10 years to recover from that, not just a year. But this sort of stuff happens all the time. It's just,
wait, if he recovered in a year, then I called it. He bounced back. Hey, Faith, dude has heart.
not really publicized. Sure, maybe one person out of 10 million actually does something crazy, like, you know, when they turn 80K into 1.12 million, but that's only because it worked out. For 99.9% of people, there's no such thing as a quick buck, and oftentimes making money does take a lot of sacrifice and diligence when it comes to sticking to something day in and day out. Now, on the topic of sacrifice, number 6, the grass is greener syndrome. You may assume that someone who has money did not work for it. It's easy to look at others and assume that they're better off, but this is a classic case of the grass is always greener.
I don't think people really understand how hard people work to make a significant income. I understand that it may look simple, it may look easy, but if it really was in the cliche, everybody would do it, literally it would happen. If making $1 million was as easy as tying your shoes, trust me, brother, we'd all be struggling with millions of dollars of debt and not just a little bit of debt that they hand us out. Nah, I'm playing. But yeah, if it was easy and simple and painless, yeah, everybody would do it. But man, it may look that way, but I don't know.
The truth is that you don't really know what sacrifices or struggles they're facing behind the scenes. They could have worked on an oil rig for 10 straight years, never seen their family, and put themselves at risk for different types of cancer in order to make a really good salary. Or you might see an investment banker who's making a lot of money, but then you don't realize that they're actually working extremely long hours, up to 100 hours a week early on in their careers. They also need to be constantly available. They're often highly stressed just so that they can make a good salary when they're younger. So when you do finally see someone at the age of 30 who has, quote, made it, perhaps they had to give up a lot of their life for it. And these are the sacrifices you may not want to make. If you recognize this in particular, it will help you stop comparing your achievements to theirs, because maybe their challenges were bigger than yours. Finally, number 7, the silent cost of family wealth. Another factor to consider is that some people appear wealthy because they have family financial support or generational wealth. This doesn't mean that they didn't work hard, but they may have had a huge head start that makes their financial journey look a lot easier. For example, someone might afford a luxury apartment or frequent vacations not because of their job, but because they receive regular financial support from their family. Or maybe they just inherited investments or a property that gives them a cushion that many other people don't have. You never know what's on that other side. They may have more emotional baggage that comes with this. You just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a flight back from Spain, and I was sitting next to this father, and he was explaining to me, both from LA, and he was explaining to me that he bought a home in the San Fernando Valley, but kept his home in North Hollywood, and almost didn't have the ability to buy the second home while maintaining the first home. But they're able to maintain the first home, and now they rent it out for like 3,500 a month. And so him, he's a teacher, and I believe his wife is a teacher, but they have an extra 3,500 a month that covers most of their current expenses. So he's able to fly his whole family to his home country, Spain, every summer, even living more of what you would consider an average middle class lifestyle. But his finances are much more comfortable. He has that cushion that was just spoken about. And I think a lot of times this goes unobserved, and there's a lot of opportunities to maximize your lifestyle even without changing exactly what you do. Obviously, I don't know the details on the sales and the purchases and the money and if you got help and all that other stuff, but it just shows you that there's opportunities that you can take advantage of almost at any stage.
Key takeaway here is that family wealth and generational support can create an illusion of financial success that's not solely based on their own achievements. It's not something you can control or compare yourself to, so I think just focusing on building your own path can help you find more satisfaction and motivation with your life. So spend time on what makes you happy, what brings you ultimate fulfillment, and remember to focus only on the things that you can control and try to just put up some blinders up for society and everyone else, and I think you're gonna be a lot better off. Thanks for watching this video. If you wanna watch my next video, it's going to be right here, and I will see you either in that video or a future one on my channel. All right.
Yeah. Shout out to my man Humphrey Lang. He broke it down pretty well. I would love to know. I mean, I'll have to dig into his channel a little bit more. I would love to kind of know how he grew up. It's kind of curious, but when it comes down to it, yeah, maybe we do feel behind because of what we see, and I usually think is what we see on social media. I don't think people see too much audacious wealth just surrounding their day-to-day lives when they go walking around and on their daily commute and whatnot. I think this is more of an image thing, and everybody's going to put their best foot forward when given the ability to curate their own image on social media. Just like the traders that only show their wins or may negate showing all their losses, it's to preserve an image, you know? And so I think a lot of times if you can, to avoid sounding cringy, if you can just lock in, and focus on your finances, building the life and the vision and the plan that you want, then everything's achievable. You know, the life that you want to build is achievable. And Humphrey kind of shows the things that make us feel like it's not. However, it's not always what it seems. It's not always what it seems. So check out his channel. Pretty cool guy. We'll tune in to the next video.